Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. Is there a change in the government stand on the public transport modernization program? New Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon says he's willing to talk this over with stakeholders and will present a solution in 2 weeks. Dizon says he's even willing to talk to transport group Manibela, which is currently staging a 3-day strike.
And is the president's older sister, Senator Imee Marcos, out of the administration's senatorial lineup? And what about fellow senatorial bet Camille Villar, who, just like Imee, has skipped the coalition's campaign rallies since the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte?
And we sit down later with Health Secretary Ted Herbosa to talk about current health issues in the Philippines and how the department plans to address them.
Bakit ba kailangan resign? Dahil hindi mo pinapakita sa taong bayan na maayos kang mag-isip at kaya mo ang mamuno.
That was Vice President Sara Duterte speaking in front of a crowd that gathered in The Hague ahead of former President Rodrigo Duterte's birthday. We'll get to that story later. We are, however, starting this week with the long-drawn PUV modernization program. Transport Group Manibela is halting operations for the next 3 days. And the reason? To protest the public utility vehicle modernization program.
Manibela is accusing the government of misleading data regarding the consolidation process. LTFRB claims 86% of public utility vehicles have applied for consolidation, but Manibela says only 40% has been approved. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon said they are still verifying the data and calls for Manibela to end the strike and negotiate.
Dahil doon sa mga maling datos na inilabas ng LTFRB at ng DOTR, puro penalty ang inaabot namin. Pababayaan pa po ba natin na nakaupo itong mga sinungaling dyan sa ahensya?
Tingin ko naman, hindi naman rason para mag-strike pag ang gobyerno nagbabalidate ng numero, di ba? Hindi naman rason yun. Kaya nga ang pakiusap ko when I heard na magsa-strike ang Manibela is, imbes na strike, mag-usap na lang tayo.
And with the number of jeepneys off the roads until Wednesday, the DOTR has extended the MRT's operating hours and deployed free bus services for affected commuters. And over the next 2 weeks, the DOTR will be meeting with transport groups before deciding on the next steps for the modernization program.
This time, it will be different. We will be open to changes because clearly, there are some issues that need to be resolved.
Let's find out the latest development on this issue. And joining us tonight is LTFRB spokesperson, Attorney Ariel Inton. Good evening, Attorney. And first question po, bakit po ang layo ng mga ang numero ng bilang ng nag-a-apply sa na-approve? Anong dahilan nun?
Okay, maraming salamat po. Magandang gabi po sa inyo. Magandang gabi sa ating mga taga-subaybay. Una po, dun po muna tayo sa point of reference nun percentage. Yung pong 86%, 86.23%, it refers to the number of those that applied for consolidation. Ibig sabihin, sa 191,730 units na may prangkisa, ang nag-apply na po sa consolidation ay 165,334. Ngayon, ito pong kabuuan na to is not only PUJ. Meron pong UV, may minibus, may bus, but the bulk of this percentage are public utility jeepneys. Ngayon, out of this, ang natapos na pong proseso is about 43%. Kaya yun pong 43%, yun pong sinasabi nila na kasinungalingan, wala pong basihan yun. Kasi yung pong point of reference, iba. The 43% refers to those already approved, yung natapos na po, while the 86% refers to those that applied. Ngayon, meron pong katanungan kayo na bakit ganon mukhang malayo, di ba? Yung yung percentage. Ngayon, meron po kasing by the way, ako po pangatlong araw ko pa lamang po to na dito sa as spokesman. So, I went over what is available na mga data dito po sa ahensya. And ang nakita po natin dito ay yung pong mga nag-apply are through the years, through the years po yan. For instance, December 2020, ang nag-apply po is only 18.35%. Tapos nag-increase to over the years. So, yung pong taon, yung pong pag-apply from December 2020 to November 2024, naturally yung iba na unang maaprubahan kasi nauna silang nag-apply. So that's one. Second, meron pong mga nakita ko sa pag-aaral, some requirements, consolidation requirements, na tila dito po nagkakaroon ng deadlock. Ibig sabihin, operators medyo nahihirapan po dito to comply. Like capitalization and financial requirements, fleet modernization, legal administrative barriers, loss of independent operation. Yan po yung mga nakitang dito na kakaroon po ng stumbling block. Ngayon, pagka tinanong, kung meron ito, hindi ba medyo malayo yun 86 saka yun 43? Ganito po ang naging solusyon ng ng ahensya. Ito po yung hindi po masyado na napapaliwanag
Ano po yun?
Kapag nag-apply po kayo ng consolidation, meron na po kayong provisional authority. In other words, pag niyakap na po yung programa, there are already rights and privileges available to the applicant. Meron na po silang, entitled.
Kung putulin ko lang kayo, you're saying na hindi naman ibig sabihin hindi pa na-approve or na-disapprove.
Hindi makakabiyahe. Yan. In other words, yung 86% bumabiyahe po yan. Hindi po yung 43% lang po ang bumabiyahe.
Na-reject. Okay.
Kasi yung pong 86%, yung meron na pong provisional authority para bumiyahe yun. So, kapag dahil nga may mga mahirap makomply, binibigyan na ng provisional authority yun para makabiyahe. Otherwise, yung logic ng programa mawawala kasi halimbawa, pag nag-apply ka, hindi ka pa nakaka-comply ng mga requirements o hindi ka pa pwede bumiyahe, wala pang mga requirements mo. Masisira po yung programa.
Attorney.
Kaya opo.
Okay. Sorry to cut you, pero I think kasi yung main issue nung mga transport groups right now, base sa mga interview namin sa kanila, ang concern kasi nila, ayaw nilang mawala sa kanila yung prangkisa mismo. So, it would seem to us, that we are now at an impasse. So, ang tanong ko ano pa bang pwede nating pag-usapan? Kasi parang willing ba mag-give way? Yung prangkisa talaga yung pinagkakapitan talaga nila and they're not willing to let it go.
Okay. Ganito po, ang isang major stumbling block na sinasabi nga ng mga opposition dito sa consolidation is that when you consolidate, yung pong prangkisa will no longer be in the name of the operator, it will already be in the name of the corporation or the cooperative na sila ay member na doon, magiging member noon. Yun po talaga, totoo po yun dahil nasanay nga po ang mga operator na nakapangalan sa kanila yung prangkisa. But we know very well that franchise is a privilege. So, pwedeng bawiin ng pamahalaan, no, for just cause and may due process. Dito po yung sinasabi na, okay, may prangkisa ka, pero hindi naman forever sa'yo yan. No? May programa po yung pamahalaan na yung prangkisa niyan ay maiilipat sa kooperatiba na ikaw ay kasapi nun. Tama po yun na yan po ang isa pong nagiging stumbling block dahil nga ang nakasanayan na ang operator nasa kanila pangalan ang prangkisa. Yan,
Okay,
yan.
okay po.
Oo.
Maputol ko lang po kayo. Marami pong salamat sa inyo, Attorney Ariel Inton, spokesperson ng LTFRB.
Speaking of that transport strike, traffic remains heavy as well on the northbound lane of the NLEX as repairs on the damaged Marilao Interchange Bridge are underway. To discuss the latest developments, we have NLEX Traffic Operations Head Robin Ignacio joining us tonight. Magandang gabi po, Robin. Ano po yung update sa Marilao? Talaga bang libre na ang toll for now hanggang maayos? Kamusta ang traffic?
Yes, good po. And yun po, yung ating traffic starting this morning po ay nagkaroon na po ulit tayo ng congestion for the northbound direction because we needed to close po yung 3 lanes for the repair of the bridge, and we are left with just 2 lanes, the outermost and to the right and to the left lane. So these 2 lanes seems not enough, and what we are doing is we are implementing a counterflow or a zipper lane for the northbound traffic.
And yes, Sir Robin, 2 weeks pa rin po ba ang minamataan ng NLEX Corporation to fix the bridge? And is there any way to expedite that process without compromising the safety of motorists and, of course, the quality of the repairs?
Yes, we are targeting end of this month for the complete of the repair po, pero if we can have it fast track pa para mas maaga po yung pagbubukas namin, and then we are doing our best para po mas mapaaga dun sa target nating end of this month.
Okay, and if you can explain lang, no, Sir Robin, kung ano ba yung ginagawa pa ng NLEX, and to follow up on Pauline's query, may chance ba na mas mapaaga ang completion nitong project, nitong repairs, of course, without sacrificing quality and safety?
Meron naman pag-asa, ma'am, but of course, without any delays po nga sana o any concern that will arise habang ginagawa po namin yung repair. Yun pong ginagawa nga natin. Just as I mentioned, we are only left with 2 lanes. So we need to implement counterflow once in a while for as long as yung southbound direction po natin ay hindi naman po affected nung pag-convert po natin ng 1 lane into counterflow lane for traffic for northbound traffic. And yun po, I think the repair is progressing well. Yun pong damaged horizontal beams are already cut, and the fabrication of the replacement are already completed. So what we are doing now is raising the girder, and they will be welded para after the repair, the strength of the bridge will be restored to its original.
So, Sir, confident naman po kayo na matatapos po lahat ng repairs dyan sa Marilao Interchange Bridge before Holy Week? Kasi 2 weeks na lang po, Semana Santa na. So, with that, ano rin po ang mga preparasyon na ginagawa ng NLEX to prepare for the exodus of vehicles? Kasi hundreds of thousands po ang gumagamit ng NLEX, lalo na pag Holy Week.
Yes po, yun nga po, as I mentioned, yun pong end of this month na target namin is achievable, at meron pang chance if everything goes well, baka mapapaaga po konti. And yun po yung preparation natin ng Holy Week. As you mentioned, totoo po, kailangan po talaga open po lahat yung lanes natin by then. And for the northbound direction po, mas marami po kasi talaga yung bumabiyahe po ng Wednesday afternoon hanggang Thursday early afternoon. So usually we are also implementing counterflow to add the lanes for the northbound direction. At yun naman pong balikan, ganun din po. We are again implementing counterflow. This time naman po from northbound direction to be used by southbound traffic flow.
Okay, maraming salamat po. NLEX Traffic Operations Head Robin Ignacio, thank you for your time.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, We'll be sitting down with Health Secretary Ted Verzosa to discuss the current state of health in the Philippines and the department's plans to address its key issues. All that and more when we return. Keep it here on One News.
You're watching the big story here on One News. Wait and see. This is all Malacanang has to say after President Bongbong Marcos seemingly dropped his own sister, Senator Imee Marcos, from the administration slate. Recall that in previous campaign rallies of the Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas, Marcos would always make it a point to mention his sister as among the senatorial candidates of their ticket, even when she's absent. But it was an entirely different story during their sorties in Cavite and in Laguna.
Si Camille Villar, wala po rito. Ang kanyang mga ninuno naman ay tiga Iloilo. Magkaisa po tayo sa ating alyansa. At huwag natin gawing alyansa lamang nitong 11 na tao, 11 na kandidato na tumatakbo bilang senador na kasama sa alyansa.
Note that Congresswoman Camille Villar was also absent in both sorties. Villar offered no explanation. Meanwhile, in an ambush interview, Senator Imee Marcos directly said she is busy studying the merits of former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest by the International Criminal Court. But she also clarified that she's not backing out from Alyansa.
Bibisi-bisihan ako. Mahirap mag-aral ng international law. Importante ang Pilipino ay dapat elitis sa sariling bansa, sa sariling korte.
You have not withdrawn from Alyansa?
No action taken. But the reality is, kung maaalala nyo, mulat sa poll, sinabi ko naman na independent ako.
The palace still cannot tell if the Marcos siblings have already talked things out, but their party mates are thankful that at least Senator Imee has made her stand clear.
If that is her stand, then we will respect her stand, no? So mas mabuti na nga sinabi niya yun, at least alam namin ang stand niya tungkol dito sa alyansa. No?
Maliwanag po ang kanyang sinabi at hintayin na lamang po ang susunod na mga rally para malaman po natin kung ano po ba yung ibig niya talagang sabihin dito.
Well, to more important matters, health, jobs, and food top the latest survey of what voters want addressed by candidates in the upcoming midterm elections. And so much needs to be discussed about the state of our country's healthcare system. And we have with us tonight Secretary Ted Verzosa of the Department of Health. Good evening to you, Secretary. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Ces. Good evening, Shawn and Pao. Thank you for having me.
First of all, it's World TB Day, and
Yes.
we rank 4th in the world.
Correct. And that's something that I wouldn't be proud of, but I'm actually now the chairman of the Stop TB Partnership Global because I'm in the top 5. That means if the Stop TB is done in the 5 countries, we would eliminate about 78% of global TB. So we carry quite a big burden in the country. And the key there is really just plain more detection. In fact, my activity for World TB Day was getting x-rays done to all our citizens for free. So we did all over the country. We were able to do
Only
16,000. Not today, last week. The whole week last week, we were taking x-rays in different areas of the country. We had portable, ultra-portable, the one with the mobile, and people just walk in and get x-ray. We were able to do almost 17,000 x-rays.
Can you reduce our ranking in the
That's
world?
the goal. I want to get kicked out of the top 5, maybe out of the top 10.
That's
and
one list we would want to be kicked
Correct.
out of.
And I'm particularly emphasizing TB because these were one of the first instructions to me of the president. When he appointed me in 2023, he asked me the question, why are we in the top 5 in TB? So it's a big problem. It's both a social and a health problem. But TB today is detectable, it's treatable, and people shouldn't be getting it.
What is the reason nga?
It's more of a social problem. There's still stigma to tuberculosis. Many people are afraid when they get the diagnosis. They hide the fact that they have TB when in fact it's just like it can be treated with antibiotics. So
If I may say, Doc, no, it's a secretary. It's a lot of people only find out when they have health screenings like mandatory, like
Correct.
you're about to get a job, and then by then you're like, how will I go to the job if they find out I have TB, and then the treatment is so long.
Correct. The treatment is 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem. We are able to diagnose them on an X-ray for a job job application, but then they don't complete the treatment. And that's why we're spreading the TB.
Ayun.
How is it
Kasi they feel
complete
better.
it?
Yeah, they feel good after about 1 month of medication. Just, I'm already feeling better. I won't take the medicines. They won't complete the course, so they end up with multiple drug-resistant TB. They end up infecting the other members of their family.
So, Secretary, how is it commonly transmitted? What's the most
Airborne. Airborne, like COVID.
Right.
It's airborne. It goes in there. You cough, you speak.
So, at the workplace, is it or
The
Public
elevator,
transport.
public transport,
Malls,
yes.
restaurants.
Malls and restaurants. So the key really is that because it's airborne, it's easy to spread. So the key is really to treat all those, find all those that are positive, like COVID. Remember during COVID, we look for those that are infected and then treat them.
And is treatment free for the poor?
Yes, for the poor, it's free. And PhilHealth also covers it. There's some coverage. So the treatment is like you go to a treatment center, a TB dots. Yeah, directly observed therapy center. So you go to the dots so that they will watch you take the medication. In fact, that was one of the problems during COVID. Many were isolated from their TB
So that's
dots.
why tumaas ang incidence.
Yes, kasi marami pala dito sa may TB. Di sila pupunta doon sa barangay nila. They go to the other places where no one knows them because of the
Because of the
stigma,
shame.
because of the shame.
But it's actually worse because you can also pass it on to children who get primary
Correct.
complex, right? And then, but also like COVID, Sec, parang some people, they don't even feel anything. And yung pala, they have TB already. In that
That's-
case, how do you it's like the asymptomatic people with
Correct.
COVID,
So that's
right?
the other reason why TB spreads. Most of them will be, they feel good. They probably have some slight fever at night, maybe night sweats, cough a little, and they think it's ordinary cough. Yung pala TB na. So that's why it keeps spreading because of this asymptomatic or people who don't feel anything.
Now let's go to another disease, dengue. And you predict that this year will be seeing a spike in cases. Why is that so?
Because January, February, we had a 74% increase. In fact, we gave away dengue larvicides and test kits to Calamba and to other places in Laguna.
With high incidence.
Yeah,
of
because
dengue.
of high incidence. But that will lower down, that will trough. That's going to be because of the summer. Because of the heat, kukonti yung
Pero
vector.
pag
Pagdating ng tag-ulan, tingin ko, if it reach 74, the curve will also reach 74% increase. So we're readying and making sure that people are ready. They clean up the areas where the mosquito can reproduce. Meron kaming promotion Taob, taktak, tuyo, takip. So these are the places where water,
Stagnant water.
40s.
40s.
Don't say it that way. Say 40s.
I only said, okay.
40s.
Secretary, is it correct when they say that itong dengue, they thrive, those mosquitoes thrive not in dirty places, but in fact in clean
water,
waters?
in fact.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's an urban, the Aedes mosquito likes clean water. In fact, when we did our rounds in Quezon City, in Batasan Hills, I discovered some places, walang rain, pero yung mga kontador, the connections to the tubes for the piping in the house, may goma lang. And sometimes that's leaking.
It's
and then there's a puddle of water. Ayun, doon na, no. Then there are the bottles of yung mga refillable water.
Na
So,
nakatambak.
nakatambak with water pa inside. Yun, pinapasok.
Kaya taob.
Kaya taob, taktak,
But this
tuyo,
is
takip.
also connected to climate change.
Yes, we have a theory also that because of global warming and then the erratic rainy season, even in January, February, this led to that 74% increase. So we're just getting people aware. The way to control dengue is to lower the vector. Pag nabawasan natin yung mosquito, mababawasan yung magkakadengue.
There's also this misconception, and I've been hearing this a lot, kasi nung bata ako, ang sinasabi, sa umaga lang nagkakagat yung Aedes aegypti. That was stripy
umaga at
mosquito.
hapon.
That's true, umaga at hapon. They
And then
actually
now
feed-
they're saying daw they
That's
can
not
just
true.
bite daw anytime.
I
May
don't know. Let's
katotohanan
ask
ba
the
yun? I
expert.
know, I
Well,
wanted to
number
ask.
one, it's only the female mosquito that bites.
Yeah.
Because it feeds for its larva when it's about to lay eggs. So it feeds on blood, on human blood. So sa morning, early morning, kaya yung kids at school are protected. That's why we give away this mosquito net that are treated with insecticides to kill adults. And then we clean the water. That's where the kitty becomes a full-blown mosquito. One mosquito will lay up to about 100 eggs. And in about 4 to 7 days, adult na yung larva. Ganun kabilis mag-multiply yung Aedes mosquito.
So you're saying let's not let our guard down kahit
Yes.
na pa-summer.
Oo.
What about yung mga, kumbaga, traditional Filipino treatments? There's usually parang gulo na parang pwede ba gamitin yung tawa-tawa or ganyan. I know it's not a Western medical advice, but kung mataas na talaga yung kaso, may harm ba na subukan tong mga traditional therapies natin?
The traditional therapy, I'd still recommend, because the problem with dengue is the hemorrhagic shock. That means you end up with a second dengue infection and your blood vessels, you have a problem with your platelets, they go down, and then you start bleeding. So if you're using tawa-tawa, baka hindi mag-work, then you'll also end up going to the hospital late. So our recommendation is to go to the hospital early. We now distribute like a test kit, just like on COVID. So we can have an NS1 test, which tells you, the mother, especially kasi children ang tinatamaan nito, that it's dengue or not. So when we do the test in the emergency department, sabihin na namin, dengue yan, we can take care. Kung mild siya, you can go home. Kung medyo yung blood niya problematic, admitin sa hospital. Pero kung hindi siya dengue, kampante na yung mother. It's not dengue, it's probably just an ordinary cough, cold, flu.
Is this covered by PhilHealth?
Yes, it's covered. Dengue is covered by PhilHealth. The PhilHealth pays something like 19,000 for mild dengue that's hospitalized and about 46,000 for severe dengue that you get into the ICU, you're monitored.
Let's go to the big picture, especially since PhilHealth is, there's a big controversy, a case pending before the Supreme Court. How much really of the sin taxes collected go to PhilHealth and go to the DOH? How do you distinguish?
Well, it didn't say how much goes to PhilHealth and the DOH. It just says 80% of the sin tax collected should go to the National Health Insurance, that's PhilHealth. Millennium Development Goals, at the time that law was passed, we were looking at maternal mortality, pregnant women, nutrition, TB, HIV, and
Stunting
health
nandyan
promotion,
ba?
and nutrition, and nutrition, and then also for health prevention. Those things I mentioned, MDG and prevention, is all with the DOH.
Okay.
So
how do you
PhilHealth is just
divide?
financing.
How do you divide that 80%?
Depending on what we need, like for example, I now have a health promotion bureau that we run to promote healthy lifestyle and wellness and disease prevention. We're now buying all the vaccines for women sa HPV vaccination na push ko kay President John. That's from sin taxes and money that they give us for programs what we call population-based.
So it's still the House of Representatives that will allocate?
It's like this. The population-based healthcare is Department of Health. Individual-based care is financed by PhilHealth. So if a member gets sick and goes to the hospital, part of the financing comes from PhilHealth. But for vaccinations for girls that need the HPV vaccination, that's budget given to the Department of Health. That can come from sin tax. So not everything goes to PhilHealth. I think a bigger portion
So you
actually
think
goes
there's a misconception?
Correct. I think there's a misconception. They think they're reading the law, but they stop at the first comma. But the law actually says National Health Insurance, MDG goals, and health promotion. The bigger portion should go to the Department of Health.
So now that it has a zero subsidy this year, you will fork
Oh, no.
out.
Be careful. Zero subsidy from government.
Yes.
But we have a corporate operating budget of 280 billion. And then I have another 250 billion from the Department of Health. So technically, it's about $500 million for...
And how do you apportion that 80%, Doc? Can you give us a behind-the-scenes look? Does this happen at the start of every fiscal year? When do you get the money, and how do you decide? Obviously, every year things
So
will
this
be
is
different.
the budget. So every year. So now we're preparing. It's budget season. We're preparing for the budget for 2026. So we look at our programs. Like now, I have new programs like Purok Kalusugan, the Bagong Urgent Care and Ambulatory Services Center. So we're now fixing the budget so it will fund most of what we're trying to emphasize. So that becomes what's called the NEP, the National Expenditure Program, which is the President's budget. And then by around September, this is submitted to Congress, and Congress makes it himay They look at it, they look at the programs, and then it goes to the Senate, and then it gets to a BICAM, and then it gets passed.
So this is independent pa of what is given to you by the national budget.
Correct. No, well,
The collection from
from syntax is what we call a soft earmark. Ang term ng Department of Finance, it's a soft earmark. These are taxes can be used to fund the general appropriations, which is the budget for population health.
Well, Secretary, if we're talking about the big picture, right, I wanted to ask about lowering out-of-pocket expenses. You said you wanted to really address inequality and affordability in terms of healthcare, and right now for the working class, the out-of-pocket expenses are still at 60 to 70%.
Correct.
So those who actually contribute to PhilHealth.
That's true.
Diba?
That's correct, because the national health accounts looks at the share. So universal health coverage is really about making sure that all the citizens, when they get sick, wala na silang out of pocket. My idea of a universal healthcare country is something like 80 to 100% is covered. So that when the working class gets sick, they don't have to dig deep in their pocket and then pay for health. But in the Philippines, it's 40%. But I think it's even lower than that. Kasi in some hospitals, it's really very expensive, especially if you go to a private hospital. So the poor are now covered with universal healthcare and PhilHealth. No balance billing in the public hospital. So if you're poor, you can get brain surgery, heart operations, libre, cancer, libre lahat. My worry now is my working class, the middle class, who's the one trying to pay for the taxes. Actually, kaltas na sa kanila yung, when they get their salary, kaltas na yung tax. But when they get sick, they have to borrow money. They have to loan money to pay for the hospital bills. So that's the next phase of universal healthcare. I want to get some level increased from 40%, maybe increase out of the support to about 80%, 70 to 80% by the time I finish.
Right. But
How?
there's
That's a big question, right?
How? Because of like the,
you know what? I have an
do
answer to you. Efficient use of money, and you're not ever gonna get that if you're going to put the money in the bank. That's why.
Which is what PhilHealth
Which is
did.
why we in the board in PhilHealth said no. Let's use that to pay the health emergency allowance.
But that's what I wanted to ask, because absorptive capacity also came up in the oral arguments.
Correct.
It's been coming up. Even PhilHealth has said na merong problema talaga. I'm sure there's really also a problem, even with the DOH. So how do we try to increase that absorptive capacity so we can...
I'm going to hire Elon Musk for doing
right-sizing.
Government efficiency.
I don't think so.
There's a lot of money, but we need to make it efficient. I think what they're doing in the US is probably the right path. If you have money, now my budget is probably the biggest ever in the Department of Health in its history. 200. But I want to use it efficiently.
Okay, how will you do that?
Making sure you plan it well.
That's easier said than done.
So that's where the budgeting comes in.
Plus yung corruption pa.
Yeah, well, number one, you weed out the corruption. Make sure the corruption is eliminated.
Is that possible?
Next, we try, and then the next is planning. It's like budgeting for the house. You have a certain amount of budget. You know this is what you will be spending. You make sure you spend that money. You know, last year I returned about 760 million to the National Treasury. The year before that, it was 1.9 billion. So hindi pa siya efficient.
Pero it's more efficient. It's getting more efficient.
Well, instead of giving it to fraudulent, claims, but then the fact that the money is there, unutilized, it's almost like a crime.
That's right. That's right. That's what we call, when the money is in the bank, that's what we call lost opportunities.
Yeah.
This is money that I could have paid for citizens of the Philippines that were having trouble to look for money, who loan money for the health. So really, I think there
you mentioned an alternative is to really just make all the public hospitals free.
Yeah, that's one. One idea is to go back to that concept of free healthcare in the public hospital. But I think if you talk about efficiency, I'll talk about digitalization.
That's what Dr. Mercado was also talking
exactly.
about.
So if you want to use the money efficiently, like our cell phone bill, you know exactly how much your bill is. If we can do that for healthcare, efficiently be able to use digital, then I will know every centavo where it goes. I can also fight corruption with
Or data
digitalization.
analytics as
Well, I'll use
well,
data
right?
analytics.
Do you have
This
a
is what
timeline for
Doge
that,
is doing.
Secretary?
Because Dr. Mercado of PhilHealth said 2 to 3 years it will take to completely digitalize and coordinate everything for PhilHealth. Do you think kayang ito i-roll out?
So me, I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm saying I want services already use digital. So for example, our hospitals, government hospitals are full, pila-pila yung patient. Why don't we put out an appointment system through the phone? So that you go only to the hospital at the time of your appointment. Because now, people go to the hospital at 4 a.m. so that they will be seen at 8 p.m. Kawawa naman sila. Tapos they're absent from work the whole day. So if they have an appointment, I think that's a digital appointment system. We can, then telemedicine. Baka after that, follow up, you don't have to go back. We just email you the results.
Actually, low-hanging fruit na to from
Low-hanging
COVID
fruit yan.
COVID.
Exactly,
Diba?
I
We're
saw
already
it during
doing
COVID.
Yeah.
We did it in COVID.
We did
Pero huminto tayo uli.
Oo.
Bumulit tayo sa
Kayo
face-to-face.
next month pwede na.
So in Cebu, they didn't give it up. They have this command center. So one of the other things, aside from that patient appointment system, I also want to build command centers in the Department of Health Central. It's like a NASA. So you know exactly where people are getting high dengue, measles, or everything. So you want that digitalization command center, and you also want the regions to do that and the hospitals to do that. That way, I get with efficiency, with amount of money, I can take care of 120 million Filipinos.
We really need more than 20 minutes.
Of course.
So, we hope to see you again, Secretary, kasi ang daming tanong.
No, but I have 3 important reminders lang.
Okay.
To keep healthy, remember my name, Ted. Tamang pagkain, ehersisyo, at disiplina para sa kalusugan. Tamang pagkain, bawal ang maalat, matatamis, at matataba. Ehersisyo, 30 minutes every day. Disiplina, bawal ang smoking, vape, droga, at alcohol. Matulog ng tama.
Parang kandidato,
Sleep well.
Are you sure? Thank you so much, Health Secretary
Thank you very
Ted
much.
Verzosa, and we'll see you again here on The Big Story soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we're going to pause for another breather, but right after that, from calls of resignation to comparing former President Duterte to former Senator Ninoy Aquino. We'll be getting an update on that from The Hague live. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story. Whatever happens, he wants to come home to the Philippines. This is former President Rodrigo Duterte's request, according to his daughter, Vice President Sara Duterte. One News senior manager, Jovi Francisco, reports to us live from the Netherlands. Jovi, how's the situation over there?
Says we are waiting for former President Rodrigo Duterte's lead counsel attorney, Nick Kaufman, outside the penitentiary, because we want to ask him some details regarding the legal strategy of the defense panel after yesterday's meet and greet with the Vice President Sara Duterte, where some details were revealed. Here's the report.
After the speeches on stage, the Duterte supporters who are based in nearby European cities lined up to take a photo with Vice President Sara Duterte.
Be strong, and then we believe on him and we love him very much.
Sana po makauwi na si Tatay Digong. We love you! Sana makauwi na si Tatay Digong. We love you so much!
Overseas Filipino workers filled up a big portion of the Het Malieveld Park Sunday for a meet and greet with the VP. This, they say, is also their way of showing love and support for former President Rodrigo Duterte, who is detained here at The Hague.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tatay Digong. Happy birthday to you. One more. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tatay Digong. Happy birthday to you. Tatay Digong, we love you!
They sang the birthday song, other known Duterte anthems, and chanted their demand, "Bring Rodrigo home."
Duterte! Duterte!
On stage, the Vice President gave updates about her father's condition.
Tumigil na siya sa kakahingi ng Pinoy na ulam dahil parang hindi talaga kaya nung nagluluto sa loob ang Pinoy na ulam. Pero nagpadala ako kahapon ng PDF file ng mga recipes na pwedeng sundin nung nagluluto.
Off stage, she discussed to the media what his father told her about the case against him at the ICC.
He was very confident about the legal arguments, and there is no case to begin with. I'm here until the entire team is set up. The entire legal team is set up, and I come up with a scheduling with my siblings, so who will stay here and do it.
She also shared that in their most recent conversation, her father told her to bring him home.
Pa, sabi ko, yung kagustuhan mo na umuwi, yan din yung katapusan ng buhay mo. Magiging Ninoy Aquino Junior ka. At sinabi niya sa akin, sabi niya, kung ganyan ang kapalaran ko, then so be it. Basta lang mauwi ako sa Pilipinas.
But according to Attorney Cristina Conti, there's a zero chance that Duterte will be granted interim release.
For the 4 crimes, main crimes that the court tries, crimes against humanity, crimes of aggression, genocide and war crimes, no interim release has been granted by the court for any of those accused of these crimes. So, from my point of view, there is zero probability that Sara Duterte or the Duterte camp could bring home Duterte by May 2025.
And as the Duterte camp prepares for Digong's 80th birthday, those critical of Duterte's war on drugs are preparing for a birthday surprise this coming weekend.
Duterte panagutin! Duterte panagutin!
Ng mga kababayan natin, hindi lamang dito sa Europa o sa Netherlands, but all across the globe, yung nalalapit na birthday ni dating Pangulong Duterte, ngayong darating na March 28, ang bayan, ang Bagong Alyansa Makabayan at iba't ibang organisasyon sa ilalim nito, all across the globe ay nagkakasa ng isang Global Day of Action, panawagan para sa tuloy-tuloy na pagpapanagot kay Duterte.
Says there's interest regarding the preparations for the trial on September, mainly because the ICC gave deadlines for both the prosec and the defense, April 4 and April 11, for them to submit some evidence and disclose evidence, and also to give a list of witnesses that they will be presenting, and so that these witnesses will be protected as early as now, Seth. Pero alam ko, Seth, meron pa kayong gustong malaman sa sinabi ni VP Sara kahapon, which is her statement regarding resignations called for President Bongbong Marcos. Let's listen in.
Bakit ba kailangan resign? Dahil hindi mo pinapakita sa taong bayan na maayos kang mag-isip at kaya mo ang mamuno.
Thank you. That was Jovi Francisco reporting to us live from the Netherlands.
The Aquino family has spoken. They are opposing Vice President Sara Duterte's remarks, calling former President Rodrigo Duterte Ninoy Aquino Jr. The Vice President likened her father to former Senator Benigno Aquino Sr., who was assassinated upon returning from exile in the United States. In a statement, the Aquino family said history shows that what happened to Ninoy is different from what Duterte is going through. Meanwhile, Malacanang also opposed the Vice President's remarks, noting that Duterte likened himself to Hitler.
Parang hindi po natin nadinig noon na inahilin tulad ni dating Pangulong Duterte ang sarili niya kay Ninoy, kung hindi kay Hitler. Meron po siyang sinabi mismo, sinabi pa niya dito, and I quote, Hitler massacred 3 million, actually it's supposed to be 6 million Jews. Now there is 3 million, what is it? 3 million drug addicts in the Philippines. There are. I'd be happy to slaughter them. At least if Germany had Hitler, the Philippines would have me. So napakalayo pong ipakumpara ang sarili o ikumpara ang dating Pangulong Duterte kay Ninoy Aquino na hindi nagkaroon ng anumang record ng mass murder or crimes against humanity.
The palace also questioned the validity of concerns over Duterte's safety if he returns home, asking whether or where these alleged threats are coming from. Castro also emphasized that no proof of threats against VP Sara has been presented to the NBI nor the PNP. She says that such claims should be backed by proof, dismissing them as false. China has denied reports that former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte applied for asylum before his arrest. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun clarified that Duterte's visit to Hong Kong was for a private vacation. China says it never received an asylum request from Duterte or his family. Officials urge the media to be cautious about unverified sources and avoid spreading misinformation. All right, well, we also had an action-packed week one at the 2025 Toyota Gazoo Racing Philippine Cup. And now both racers and organizers are looking forward to even tougher competition in the coming weeks. Here's more on that story. In the world of motorsports, it's not just about speed. It's about strategy, courage, and fierce competition. An adrenaline-pumped day unfolded during the first week of the 2025 Toyota Gazoo Racing Philippine Cup. The intense head-to-head battles continue to draw racing fans back into the world of motorsports.
We are always bringing the excitement, the thrill, and we always push our limits for the better.
As early as 10 a.m., racers were already tearing up the track. First to hit the tracks were the novice and legacy racers. It was bumper-to-bumper action, everyone eager for a podium finish. Taking home the first place for the novice class is John Ray San Diego, while the first place for legacy class is Paulo Ang. And for first-time racer Arian Bautista, it was truly an unforgettable experience.
I'm looking forward to my adrenaline rush pumping through my veins. I want to beat these guys. Alam mo yun, yung mga classicals, they're so fast talaga. As in, sobrang bilis.
Competition turned up a notch with the sporting and super sporting classes as the skilled racers conquered the 12-lap race. The race was neck and neck, but mental toughness and resilience were keys to getting that podium finish. Super sporting class first place is Myla Alivia, while Russell Reyes claimed the first spot for the sporting class.
I made a good start, but unfortunately we had some issues with the car that prevented me from progressing up the field. But yeah, that's racing.
So guys, please come for the second round of Toyota Gazoo Racing Philippine Cup. It's gonna be exciting, more action-packed. Please come and enjoy with us.
The next race weekend for the 2025 Toyota Gazoo Racing Philippine Cup will take place on May 16 to 18.
And that's it for the show on this Monday night.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Good night.